Today we'll be taking a look at the LASAL Machine Manager. So opening up these projects, we are now going to load these projects and then we're going to transfer some variables between them. So firstly, let's open up our projects and download them onto our CPUs. As you can see, the ETV0833 is already selected by default because we have set that as the station IP address. Okay, so when I go online and I download the project, I'm not going to try compiling offline first because I know there's no code in here, so it should compile successfully. It should pop up and ask me to change the architecture. The reason for this is that the ETV0833 is an ARM CPU, whereas the LASAL IDE is set to be on Intel x86 per default. Right, so to this we'll just say OK, because we need to change our compiler to match our target station. Right, now immediately we have an empty project running, you can see here with the run RAM at the bottom right, on our ETV0833, which is good. Minimizing this and going into our process class project, you see that my LAS is automatically selected. So I'll go online to that and I'll download and run. And in this instance, you see that the x86 is correct. It doesn't want to change to ARM because LAS runs as an x86 CPU. Okay, so next up, we will set up some variables, make them world variables and transfer them between these two stations. Right, so up to this point, both our stations are listed as consumer stations. This is because these projects have no variables that are defined as world variables. A world variable is basically a variable that is accessible by other stations. Right. So to do this, to demonstrate, we'll open up our process class project, right? And we will create some variables or servers that we can set the world flag on, which will automatically list them as host stations. We will then be able to drag that server over to a consumer station and so be able to simply access servers or variables between the CPUs without having to set up any protocol for communication. Right, so to do this, I'll create a new network, go to my network tab, right click on my process name and say new network, and I'll call this, let's say, WorldNet. And this is simply because we're working with servers with a world flag. So opening that up, we see our grid view, and I now need to create or have a server to set that on. Now a server is contained on a class, so I'll simply go to my class tree view, right click on the process name, project name, and click create class. Right, so my class I will call my world class. Right, and when a class is created, as per standard, there's always one server on it called the class server, over which object channel calls are made. But in our case, we'll create a new server and we'll call it my world server. This can obviously be called whatever you want it to be. If you look at the bottom now in the properties pane, with having the world server selected, you'll see that the world flag is set to false. Right. Now, when I select world, you see in the comments area down here, it says world sets this server available for other PLCs. So this is exactly what we want to achieve. So we are simply going to set that flag to true. Right, now you see a little world icon next to the server, which means this will be a world server. So we'll create an instance of our class, and we see now that we have two servers, both write protected. The one has a little globe, a little world next to it, meaning it's a world accessible server, and then our instance, meaning the bottom half of this top block, has a little globe in the same icon, indicating that this instance has some world servers on it. Right, so if I choose this instance like I have selected now, and I turn off world, you'll see that all servers that had the little globe, the little world, disappears. Right. However, if I place a new instance, the world is back. Right. This is because world can be turned on and off, like visualized, on a per instance basis. Right. So let's get rid of our second instance because we are only interested in our first instance. Now, in this case, I'm going to select the instance and make it world again, right? Because we want that server to be accessible. And another thing we will do is on that server, we will remove write protection, right? This is because we want to be able to write and read it over the network. Right, so just turn that off. Okay, so that's about it. That's done. I can download that onto LAS. Okay, and that is running, run RAM, no problems.